Imagine you're sitting in a modern movie theater. On the screen is a blockbuster Hollywood action film. A gleaming rescue helicopter roars powerfully, slicing through skyscrapers or gliding effortlessly through treacherous valleys to save the main character at the last second. That image makes us believe that with modern technology and machines worth tens of millions of dollars, humans can go anywhere on this planet. But now let's step away from the spotlight and face the harsh reality at the summit of Everest. In what is known as the death zone, we see a completely opposite picture. Even the most skilled mountaineers, when exhausted or in danger, often face a brutal truth. They are left behind in sub-zero cold, or must rely on teammates dragging them inch by inch across the ice and snow. The question is, why isn't there a fleet of super helicopters standing by up there? Why, when someone runs out of breath at 8,000 meters, can't we simply send an aircraft to airlift them like in the movies? The answer lies in a bitter reality. Above 8,000 meters, every ordinary rule of the world we know is broken. It is no longer a place for machines, and sometimes not even a place for life. This is the unequal battle between steel rotors and the capricious nature of Everest. Getting a helicopter up there is nothing short of an impossible mission. To understand why helicopters so deeply fear Everest, we must first talk about something we breathe every day but rarely think about: air. Imagine air as a thick, dense fluid surrounding us. Helicopters don't fly by magic, they fly because they have something to push against. They lean on the air to lift their entire weight of several tons into the sky. However, the higher you climb toward the summit of Everest, the more fragile that foundation becomes, like wisps of mist. At the highest mountain in the world, air density is only about 1/3 of what it is at sea level. This creates a true physical tragedy. When a helicopter's rotor spins, it tries to scoop up the scarce air molecules to generate lift. But at that altitude, the blades just slash through a near-empty void. It's like trying to row a boat, but instead of rowing through cool blue water, you're rowing through a tub full of soap bubbles or smoke. No matter how frantically you paddle, the boat barely moves. To compensate for this deficit, engineers might consider spinning the rotors at insane speeds. But life is never a dream. If they spin too fast, the rotor tips approach the speed of sound, generating massive shock waves. The result? The aircraft violently shakes and could shatter mid-air before ever reaching the victim. The lifeline connecting air and lift has been stretched to its absolute breaking point. At nearly 9,000 meters, a multi-million-dollar helicopter is no different from a rock with a toy propeller strapped to it. Suppose we could engineer a set of superblades powerful enough to grip even the thinnest air molecules. Now, the next problem lies in the heart of the aircraft, the engine. As you know, helicopter engines operate on the principle of combustion, and combustion requires oxygen. In a place where humans must strap on massive oxygen tanks just to breathe, the aircraft engine suffocates in the most literal sense. When there isn't enough oxygen, combustion inside the engine becomes erratic, causing power to drop precipitously. A supremely powerful helicopter at sea level can carry a dozen people with ease. But by the time it has limped up near the summit of Everest, it barely has enough power to carry its own frame and a thin pilot. To cope with this, rescue pilots must take extreme measures that are frightening just to hear about. They reduce fuel to the absolute minimum, just enough to fly up and return, because every litre of fuel is now a crushing burden. They remove seats, entertainment equipment, and even the aircraft's doors to shed weight. Imagine sitting in a stripped-down helicopter. No doors, wind howling past your ears, oxygen depleted, and the engine screaming in desperation through the sky. A single small miscalculation in weight, even just a few extra kilograms from a protective suit, is enough to send the helicopter into a free fall into the abyss. It's a terrifying vicious cycle. To generate lift, you need a powerful engine. To have a powerful engine, you need more oxygen and fuel. But carrying more of those things makes the aircraft too heavy to fly in thin air. Rescue at this point isn't just about courage, it's a life-or-death trade-off filled with risk. If you think that solving the engineering problems is all it takes, you are very wrong. Everest also has fits of fury that no one can predict. The weather here changes by the minute, not by the hour. One moment it's clear and sunny. In the blink of an eye, thick white clouds can roll in, turning everything into an impenetrable white wall with no way out. The pilot will be completely disoriented, unable to tell where the summit ends and the abyss begins. Then there are the terrifying gusts known as jet streams. These winds can blow at hurricane-force speeds, tossing a helicopter around like a playing card. Most fearsome are the downdrafts that plunge straight from the sky above, like enormous hands pressing the aircraft straight into the ground. In thin air, a helicopter has no reserve power to resist this force. And finally, there is the terrain. Everest is a collection of sheer rock faces and jagged ice formations. Finding a flat surface to land on is like searching for a needle in a haystack. Most rescues at lower altitudes use a technique called a touch and go. The pilot keeps the helicopter hovering just above the ice, letting only part of the landing skid make light contact to maintain balance while people on the ground frantically load the victim inside. Imagine keeping a bicycle perfectly balanced on a tightrope in the middle of a storm. That is what a pilot experiences here. One slight slip, one small gust of wind, and everything is shattered at the bottom of a deep crevasse. Despite these extreme conditions, humans have never stopped pushing limits. In 2005, history recorded a stunning achievement when pilot Didier Delsalle set an unimaginable record, landing a helicopter, the Eurocopter AS350B3, directly on the summit of Everest. To accomplish this, the aircraft had been fine-tuned to the point where it was no longer an ordinary helicopter. It sat on the summit for 2 breathtaking minutes that the entire world held its breath for. But remember, that was a test flight under the most ideal conditions possible. No victim, no cargo, and the pilot gambled his own life for a record. The reality of rescue operations is far more grim. Professional rescue teams today typically operate only up to Camp 2 at an altitude of around 6,400 meters. From 8,000 meters and above, the death zone, helicopters are almost entirely absent. When a climber collapses at this altitude, the chance of being airlifted out is virtually zero. Even the most courageous individuals often have to make a heartbreaking decision: leave a companion behind to preserve the lives of those who remain. As this story comes to a close, we realize that helicopters' inability to fly over Everest's summit is not due to human cowardice or inadequate technology. It is a reminder of nature's ultimate sovereignty. Everest sends us a message. There are places on this earth where machines must stand down and only an iron will and the raw strength of the human spirit can reach. A rescue helicopter on the summit of Everest will remain a distant dream until we find a way to overcome the harsh laws of physics. Because up there, even the air refuses to lift iron birds. The Secret Life explains perspective. Perhaps Everest's maintenance of its own natural no-fly zone is the mountain's way of preserving its sacred mystery and its true challenge. Sometimes the limits of technology are precisely where the beauty of human effort shines most brilliantly. Thank you for following this story on The Secret Life Explained. If you found it interesting, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to discover more mysteries of the world. Until next time, goodbye and see you again.